Disclaimer. For some unknown reason, the universe was against me while I was recording this video and I had to refilm the end of it, but I was lazy and only bothered to do that like a whole week later, so there's a jump in the quality and also my outfit, oh no idea, oh well. Also, I forgot to say in the video that a reviewer had the audacity to call this movie an uninspired effort, and all I'd like to say to that person is you're an uninspired effort. Okay, on to the video. I have loved this movie ever since I first saw it. I'd even go as far as to say that Lords of Dogtown is the movie that has stayed with me the longest and the most intensely. So I was absolutely dumbfounded to learn that its reviews aren't that great, and it bombed so horribly at the box office that it didn't even make half of its budget. And now I need to know why. So stick around as I relive one of the movies that means the most to me, while I do my best to make it look like I come from the 1970s, and try to figure out why this masterpiece of a movie didn't get the critical acclaim or financial success that I feel it so rightfully deserved. By the way, I've got 2 looks for you today because I couldn't decide which one to do, so comment and let me know which one you like more. Lords of Dogtown opens with a group of young boys, young surfers, Stacy Peralta, Jay Adams, and Tony Alva, sneaking out of their homes in the dark. We get a glimpse of their respective personalities. Stacy is a bit awkward and shy, Jay is a bit of a punk, and Tony is a daredevil with an extremely strict and bitter father. Tony has a bit of a bad fall, so we cut to the daylight. The boys arrive at the ocean, ready to ride some waves. But we're introduced to Skip and learn that the boys are at the mercy of the older, cooler, meaner surfers in the town.
If you want to surf the cove, you gotta earn it.
While the boys are doing some dirty work, these preppy rival surfers show up. So the boys and the men team up to protect their territory, the pier. Jay steals one of the preppy rivals' carburetors and chucks it into the ocean in front of them, while the others drop debris and shit onto their surfboards to break them. So, because of their willingness to chase the rival surfers away, they're allowed to hit the waves. Tony and Jay absolutely kill it, but Stacy wipes out. So the other surfers laugh at him, he's kicked out of the water and made to labor away on land again.
Get back to the boneyard for you, pal!
So then we cut to Zephyr, Skip's surf shop, and there we meet my favorite character, Sid. I have a note here. While I was researching this movie, I learned that most of the good reviews, the critical acclaim, went to Heath Ledger's performance in this movie. People were like absolutely praising his performance, and he is known as the highlight character, but I disagree. It's Sid. So anyway, Sid shows up at Zephyr to work for free, and we see Skip and one of his cronies, Chino, kind of bullying Sid. They make loud noises to deliberately trigger his equilibrium issue. See, they all believe that he has a problem with his inner ear, so loud noises throw him off balance, and they do this to torment him, and it's kinda mean.
We know he's got bad ears, come on!
So we cut to Stacy, Tony, and Jay skating through the streets and wreaking havoc on unsuspecting civilians, and we watch Skip act like an asshole to potential customers in his shop.
Yo, why'd you come into my store then, asshole?
Before we stumble upon Urethane Guy. Urethane Guy arrives at Zephyr to show off a new product.
These are urethane skateboard wheels.
These new wheels allow skateboards to maneuver the same way that surfboards can maneuver on the waves. And Sid is absolutely stoked about this. The boys and some others in their skater crew arrive at the shop, and Sid is all too eager to show them the new wheels.
Check these out.
What?
So then the kids rush out of the store to take the wheels for a test run. While they're breaking new ground in skateboarding,
Oh my god!
Tony's sister Kathy shows up, and it is heavily implied that there are vibes between her and Stacy.
I can't help it, I love long hair.
Same. So then we watch Skip criticizing Stacy's best attempts at skateboarding, and we also get a glimpse of Tony's arrogance.
Haha, grab your pad and take notes, Peralta.
And then Skip discusses starting an official skateboarding team. Sid overhears him, so Skip is mean to him, and then he's mean to Stacy as well because he has a job and he has to leave to go to his job. On his way out, Stacy overhears Skip telling the others that he's just not one of them. Also, let me show you the first look, which is the skateboarder look that most of the dudes have in this movie. Next, we meet Jay's mum, who is portrayed as sweet, friendly, chilled, super supportive, but pressed for cash. Sid, Jay, and Stacy have a very brief conversation about who they think will make the team. We realize that Stacy's feeling a little bit insecure, and then we see him practicing by himself at night. Cut to Zephyr, where Skip has welcomed his new skate team. He dresses them in their new kit, he gives them new skateboards, and he tells them about their first competition. But there's one problem.
You got one for Stacy, right?
Stacy didn't make the cut. The new skate team fills the streets and we get really cool shots of them on their boards, but the moment is disrupted by Jay's father deciding that he's going to leave the family.
She's crazy, Jay.
He tries to tell Jay that he's not the problem and that he'll always be his son, and attempts to give him his surfboard, but Jay just isn't having any of it. The next day, Jay breaks the news about the team to Stacy, who's visibly disheartened by this, and we learn of a drought and the need for some water regulations in which people are urged to save water and not maintain their lawns or keep their swimming pools full. So, the Zephyr skate team arrives at their first tournament acting like hooligans and bribing and scamming their way to the front of the queue. They are super confident that they are going to dominate this tournament, but they soon realize that it's not what they expected. Still, they impress the judges with their unconventional, never-before-seen style, as does Stacy, who entered on his own. Tony and Stacy blow the crowd away and they're in the lead, but then the judges are unfair to Stacy, disqualifying him for something that everybody else did. So Tony, who was in the lead, tries to defend him, but an official is super racist to him, so they get into an altercation and the shit hits the fan. In the end, Tony is disqualified. In a fit of rage and pain, he reveals that he was just trying to impress his asshole father.
I just wanted Dad to see the stupid trophy.
Jay and Stacy win trophies in the tournament, so Skip has a change of heart and invites Stacy out to lunch. Stacy plays it cool at first, but secretly he's super stoked. So he bamboozles them, shows up for lunch, and is invited to join the team. Jay has a heartwarming moment with his mother and promises to make something of himself to help her, but then when he's alone at home, he destroys the surfboard that his father gave him before he fucked off. Next, Tony lures the boys to somebody's property with an empty swimming pool because he has an idea.
This wave breaks 24 hours a day, every day. And you know what, bros? We're gonna be the first to ride it.
So the boys do their best to skate in this empty pool, and they get hurt a lot. And Sid gives us this glorious moment.
I can't feel my feet. But then again, I can never feel my feet.
As time goes on, the boys find and break into more empty swimming pools, because remember there's a drought and people have to save water, so there are a lot of empty swimming pools in the town. And while they're experimenting and committing crimes, they start attracting a crowd. And we also get this kid, who deserves an Oscar for this moment. But then, Skip comes to chew out the boys for missing one too many practices, and we get the first glimpse that maybe things aren't that great at Zephyr, that the boys are growing apart from him because of his mismanagement. Later, Tony has some visitors around because his father isn't home, and Kathy and Stacy have a super awkward moment, so Jay swoops in because he wants to take advantage of the situation, and Kathy is all too willing to give in to him, so she decides that she's just gonna straight up cheat on Stacy with Jay in front of her brother. But their dad arrives at home, so they get into trouble and then laugh it off, and it's just very weird and uncomfortable and kinda gross and fucked up, and like, what the hell? Yo. We cut to a shot of Jay trying to convince Sid to convince his father to drain his pool so that they can skate in it, but Sid is just not having any of it because his father is not having any of it.
Yeah, he'd have you all killed. Good one, though.
Good idea.
And then we're at another skating competition where the Zephyr team, the Z-Boys, are absolutely dominating. They've got the crowd, they've got the girls, and they've even got a representative from a rival skateboarding company trying to poach Tony. Tony is convinced that it's sincere, so he starts weighing up his possibilities, only to discover later that this representative said the exact same thing to Stacy and to Jay, and his ego is a little bit bruised. But I mean, can we blame him? We'd all react the same way, wouldn't we? So we get a bit of a montage of the boys growing in popularity. They're having photo shoots and featuring in magazines. So Skip celebrates their success by throwing a party at the Zephyr shop. So apparently 70s makeup was either mostly nude or extremely bold and ridiculous, and it's me, so we're gonna go with bold and ridiculous. Anyway, back to the movie. So Stacy finds out about Jay and Kathy. Another poacher... Ooh, that looks like shit. Another poacher arrives at the party to get into Tony's head and to steal him from Skip.
I'm not gonna hang around the shop like Chino Montoya. This is our time, bros.
So, for some unknown reason, the camera just decided it wasn't gonna film any of me putting this on. Oh well. Oh, Skip's guys also, quit on him, and then Skip starts destroying the surfboards in his shop in a drunken mental breakdown. Also, the internet told me that the 70s favored winged eyeliner. I'm really bad at that, so... let's try it. This eye is always a problem because there's a crease there that isn't there. Where was I? It turns out that Tony has accepted his new offer and is quickly becoming a bit of a high roller. Jay also receives an offer to become the face of Slinky for 10,000 smackaroos.
Slinky, Slinky.
But he refuses because...
Not what you're looking for, man.
And then we watch Jay fall in with a gang and start leaning towards the punk scene. Stacy also turns his back on Skip and is the last of the Z-Boys to do so because he also received a better offer and would rather follow his potential than stay loyal to the Zephyr shop. So the Zephyr team, or the Z-Boys, is dead. They grow apart, and in fact, they become rivals. Tony and Stacy find unprecedented success. Jay, who is still with his gang, breaks fresh ground with his skateboarding moves outside of the competitive scene, and Sid is kinda just there. We get a ridiculous cameo from the one and the only Tony Hawk. And then we cut to another tournament where Kathy is being a hypocritical bitch to Stacy, so he's a bitch back to her. It's heavily implied that the boys don't get along at all anymore. We see Sid and Jay struggle to reach the same momentum and respect as Stacy and Tony. Jay glubs up trying to pull off a new stunt at the tournament and then walks away, implying that he's done with the competitive scene. And we witness that Tony's head has grown a little bit too big to fit through the door.
Hey, Tony, it looks like it's gonna be you or me, man.
No, it's not. It's me.
Although he is taken down a notch when he gets badly injured in a fight that ensues. While he's recovering in the hospital, we learn that the pier where they used to surf has burnt to the ground. Skip and Jay visit its ruins and they have a heart-to-heart, and then Jay decides that it's time for a change and that he's going to leave his old self behind. Tony struggles with his injury, and we also see him have a heart-to-heart with his father, and it's the first time in this whole movie that Tony's father is portrayed as somewhat human.
Oh, you'll be back on top again soon, man. Gotta give it time.
So next, Stacy and his girlfriend are harassed by members of Jay's gang, but Jay comes to save the day because he knows Stacy, and there's still some loyalty there, you know. And then Kathy tells us that Sid really isn't okay.
That whole equilibrium thing turned out to be a tumor. Brain cancer.
Kathy invites Stacy to join them when they all get together after Sid gets out of the hospital, but Stacy has to decline because he has a skateboarding thing in Florida. And then we see that Skip sold his surf shop and returned to his passion, crafting surfboards. Jay arrives to visit Sid after the operation. The two catch up a little bit.
Dude, you look like shit.
Before, surprise, surprise, Stacy shows up. Things are super awkward between Jay and Stacy, but Sid mediates, and tells them that he has something to show them. So he takes them round back to the pool, which is empty, and Tony is cleaning it. So the Z-Boys have a somewhat awkward reunion, until Sid encourages them to skate in the damn pool.
What are you girls waiting for? My dad said we can trash it.
There are still some traces of their rivalry, but ultimately they learn to have fun with each other again, and they decide that they're going to include Sid, so that he can be a part of it instead of just watching from the sidelines. It's very sweet. So they skate around him, and we end off with some end notes on what became of these beloved characters. Tony became the first skateboarding world champion. Stacy went on to start his own skateboarding company named Powell Peralta, and also discovered Tony Hawk. Jay had a stint in prison, but continued to skate and surf, and unfortunately Sid didn't make it. Did I mention that Lords of Dogtown is based on real people and true events? So yeah, let's talk about it now. I want to start off by saying that my intention with these movie recap videos is to be as objective as is possible. I don't want to be like the other YouTubers who make these sorts of videos where they tend to reach for movies that are notoriously bad. The whole purpose of this channel of Geekish Civilian is to celebrate the entertainment and franchises and things that I love and adore. So with these movie recaps, I'm only going to talk about movies that I enjoy, even if they are bad movies. I'm not going to watch them because they're bad. I'm going to talk about them because I love them, even if they are bad, right? So as you can see in my other recap videos, Titanic, which, by the way, got a copyright claim, it's still up, but only in the USA and Canada. You'll need a VPN if you're outside of those countries and want to see it. And Queen of the Damned, I adore these movies, but I can still see everything that's wrong with them. And I didn't brush over these things. I didn't pretend that these movies are excellent just because I love them. But Lords of Dogtown is very, very different. I can't tell you why people dislike this movie or why it was a box office bomb. In my humble opinion, this movie is literally perfect. And I can't fault it, even though I'm trying to fault it, to find some sort of thing that I can talk about that's the other side of it. I can't. This movie is perfect, okay? So, instead of giving you both sides of it, where it's like the good and the bad and the ugly, I'm just going to talk about why I think this movie is actually a masterpiece. Number one is its cinematography. Lords of Dogtown doesn't feel like a movie to me. Its design, its aesthetic, its editing is all so magnificent that it's so immersive and you fall right into that era. It feels like found footage. Number two is the cast. I think that everyone who starred in this movie went above and beyond in their performances. Like, it is incredible. There are some moments where it's like, did they improvise that? Because it doesn't even feel like acting.
Why, it's funny? Is it funny? Is it funny? How's this? Is that funny? Yeah.
Earlier, I mentioned that Heath Ledger in particular was praised for his performance. It even went as far as somebody who knew the real Skip saying that his embodiment of Skip was basically indistinguishable from the real person. But I don't necessarily think that he stands out in that way. I'm not trying to discredit Heath Ledger for this. I'm saying that it's all of them. Number three is probably the biggest one here, and it's the story. I have to say here that, of course, like any other movie that was based on true events, Lords of Dogtown is not 100% accurate. But I don't feel like it should lose points here, because this is a common complaint from people that don't like it. I don't think that it should lose any points here, because Lords of Dogtown isn't a documentary, it's a dramatization. One that the real Stacy Peralta was heavily involved in. He wrote this movie. I think that Lords of Dogtown is quite misunderstood in what it is. People think it's a skateboarding movie, they think it's a sports film, they think it's a biopic or a biography. You know, like it has to be 100% accurate, or would only appeal to people who are interested in skateboarding or sports. I think that all of that is wrong, because I don't think that Lords of Dogtown is a sports movie or a skateboarding movie, at least not at its heart and soul. Lords of Dogtown is a story about a group of friends who pay the price for their fame and success. It's a movie about how their lives get derailed. It's a movie about a group of scallywags who pioneered a whole ass art form and went down in history for being the greatest at it. And it's a movie about a group of friends who grow apart. I'm very sorry, but skirt birds should be the very last thing that you focus on when you watch Lords of Dogtown. This movie is a goddamn roller coaster that will play with every emotion you are humanly capable of feeling every time I watch it, and at this point I've probably seen it like 40, 50 times. Every single time it puts my soul in a chokehold. And number 4 is not so serious as the others, but I just want to mention it here anyway. I think that Lords of Dogtown is a masterpiece, for me personally, because of how it feels. This is 100% biased and probably pretty obscure, but Lords of Dogtown is the epitome of nostalgia to me. It feels like literal golden hour sunshine, or the energy that Green Day's Dookie album has. Does any of that make sense? There is one way that I can explain this, but it is slightly off topic here, but I'm gonna mention it anyway. So just in case you don't know, I am a writer. And I have had this idea for a book since I was a teenager, like I would say maybe 17, 18 years old. And its working title is Long Short Drift. All you need to know is that it's a contemporary story about a failed rock star and how his career as a rock musician, a mildly successful rock musician, just went down the drain. It was only in watching Lords of Dogtown again this time around that I realized it is the sole inspiration for this book that I want to write. I want my book to feel the way Lords of Dogtown feels to me. And one day when I do actually write this book, if it does feel like Lords of Dogtown, I'll know that I did something right. I can only guess why people didn't take to this movie. I'm probably wrong, but it's the best that I can do. Could it be that it just wasn't what people were looking for because of the state of Hollywood and entertainment at the time that it was released? Lords of Dogtown doesn't have the cheese from typical based on true event stories. It doesn't have the heartwarming ending. It doesn't have the objectification or the cliches of storytelling. Could it be that this movie was just a little bit too real for the mid-noughties audience? Or could it be that it was told at the wrong time and never really stood a true chance of becoming something big? Maybe skateboarding was becoming a little bit more commercial than heartfelt, and people were associating it more with like the extreme side of skateboarding rather than it as an art form. Maybe skateboarding at the time was so far removed from its origins that people just really didn't care. The only other reason I could possibly think of that people just dislike this movie is that it wasn't Dogtown and Z-Boys, which, look, I have never seen, but that one gets all of the acclaim in the world. Maybe people were expecting Lords of Dogtown to be accurate to the T. And it wasn't, because like I said, it was based on true events, but it was a dramatization. Okay, it wasn't a documentary. Maybe that's what irritates people. So yeah, I can't tell you why this movie failed. However, I do feel that this movie deserves infinitely more than going down in history as a box office bomb and a cult film. It deserves infinitely more than an A for effort, or it tried, but it didn't quite get there. But at the same time, maybe that's what makes Lords of Dogtown so special. The fact that it reached who it had to reach, and nobody else. Because look, I don't want to sound like a hipster, but people tend to ruin things. Yes, I do wish that Lords of Dogtown got all of the acclaim that it so rightfully deserved, but it's a hidden gem. So, the only conclusion that I've come to is that if you don't like Lords of Dogtown, it's because it wasn't for you. And I know that that sounds like a little bit of a cop-out, but I'm gonna stick with that. In summary, I only realized now, in 2022, that Lords of Dogtown is indeed a masterpiece. And like Titanic, it only took me about 20 years to catch on. And finally,
never insult
Lords of Dogtown
in front of me.